unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
And please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of most ages, over 18 years of older, because we have a colorful language here on the show. Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with myself, Christopher Rausch, the place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. And we are here live tonight. We are here live every single Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we bring you the place where we expand your confidence, your mindset, and your ultimate ability to be authentic and congruently rock what it is that you got going on in your life. So thank you guys for being here, whether you're live or on the replay. Admittedly, I am struggling tonight a little bit. Last week I had a cold, and I think that cold has transitioned into something else. My poor son has been home for 2 days, unfortunately with a stomach flu. I don't have it that bad, but I'm not feeling all my greatest, but I'm still going to bring you the content here today because this is exciting stuff. And this is something we should all be doing in our lives, is recapping the current year and then planning our next years. But we're going to get into that in just a second. We got Ray in the house. What's going on, Ray? What's up? He says, love you, brother. Love you too, man. Hope you're having a great holiday season so far. And you and your wife are doing amazing and things are looking up for you guys. I appreciate you being here, Ray. And everybody else who's watching and listening, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or anywhere else. If you're listening to the podcast, of course, this is a video cast that goes to audio podcast. So you guys can get the podcast wherever podcasts are sold, whether it's like iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. You guys can go in there and look up Raw and Unscripted, and yours truly will come up there. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Got a couple of cool things just wanted to tell you about. I've had a pretty good day today. We got Robert in the house. Before I get into that, what's up, Robert? He says, hi, Christopher. Computer fuddled by antivirus. Oh man, that sucks. I hate when that happens. Let's see. Why am I not hearing myself too well? Can you guys hear me okay? Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Today I got in a great opportunity. I have a few people here in Southern California who reach out to me every once in a while when they're having a class or they're having some troubled kids in their class and they need to hear an inspirational story. And I got a call from the other day from my friend Leah, and she says, hey, can you come speak to my class? And I said, absolutely. No problem. So we hooked it up for today at 9:30, got a chance to go in there. And Leah actually teaches the most extreme cases of at-risk kids here in Riverside County and San Bernardino County. So these are the kids that have been in the most trouble, have the most challenge with their at-home life and everything else. So I come in there and I share my story. And then more importantly, I share what I've done to become the man that I am today. So I got this opportunity, although I'm sick, wound up going in there and wore my mask and everything, but just wanted to share this cool little picture with you guys, since it's just me, that we have no guests tonight. So I'm going to just go kind of easy today. So we're just going to have a little fun. So I just want to share this with you. Here's a picture with me and some of the kids earlier today. So some beautiful, bright, energetic souls who have challenges, to say the least. But I got a chance to go in there and share my story. And more importantly, they got opportunities to ask me questions. So I share this with you because, you know, one of the big things in my life is waking up every single day and using my words and my actions to make a difference in this world. And there's no better way to do that than doing it live and in front of people. You know, obviously with COVID and the pandemic and everything, I wasn't able to go out there and speak to people in person. I was able to do a lot of virtual stuff, which was cool, but being able to be there and to be able to answer questions live and to shake people's hands and give them a hug was a tremendous experience. So Leah, if you're watching, thank you so much for having me. And for all you guys out there, if you have a school situation or you have kids that need somebody to mentor them, they need a positive role model, please let me know. And whatever I could do to possibly help, whether it's a video, whether it's a Zoom meeting, whether it's me going there live speaking, whatever I could do to support the kids and the children in your community, please reach out to me. I appreciate it. These are some incredible individuals, and I got to hear a little bit about their story, and you know, very challenging what the kids are facing in today's world. So I got that opportunity to do that. And then if you guys have been watching my social feed, I got something else coming up. It's this Saturday, December 10th. It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is like 2 p.m. Western Standard Time, like 4, 3, 2. Yeah, so 2 o'clock on Saturday, California time, I get the opportunity to go and present, not in person, but I get an opportunity to go present this particular conference. It's called Ignite, end of year celebration, and you're invited. So we got Clifford Stark, Chris Salem, Linda Dong, Craig Porter, and myself, Christopher Rausch. Ignite Your Vision for 2023, organized by the different people right there. So if you're interested and you want to go attend this, let me know, and I will send you a link, and I'll put the link inside the show notes for you guys to go attend it. It's a free event, and essentially it's going to be a continuation of what I'm talking about today. So you're going to have 5 different speakers. Yeah, I can count 5 different speakers. Sorry, again, my brain is foggy right now. 5 different speakers talking about how you can ignite your year coming forward. So I will place that in the show notes. So put that on your calendar if you want to check it out. Ignite your year. I'm blessed to be there. So thank you, Linda, if you're watching, for inviting me. I always love doing these kinds of things. It's whatever I could do. Honestly, it's in my goals every single year, whatever I could do to impact the world positively. And actually, I do that every single day. God's honest truth. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say what I'm grateful for. And oftentimes it's a lot of the same things, but what I do is I also incorporate new things. So I find other things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the fact that, we have our freedom. I'm grateful for the fact that I've got this home. I'm grateful for the fact that I have technology where I can connect to people all over the world, wherever it might be. I find gratitude in things because the way you start your day is really paramount and how you're going to continue your day and how you're going to finish your day. I found this out personally. So tonight's broadcast, we're going to be talking all about how we can recap this current year, kind of look at our wins and our challenges, and some questions that we can ask ourselves, and then also how we can plan our next year. And what's interesting is every year I go out and I ask people, like, what processes and what methods do you use to go out there and to plan your year, to recap your year? And I find, surprisingly, a lot of people don't spend the time to really sit down and, most importantly, recap their current year. A lot of people set their goals and do New Year's resolutions and things of that nature. But how many of us really sit down and kind of look at our wins and our challenges for the current year and really kind of give ourselves a bone as to what we've accomplished and maybe what we went after and maybe weren't successful for, but also in that same time, the challenges that we incurred and how we were able to learn from those. And maybe that's something we're going to put on our radar for next year to continue that growth opportunity. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. But the one thing I want you to know is that you can ask me any questions you have about goal planning, mindset, recapping the year, anything that you need to know the answer to help you have a kick-ass year next year. By all means, feel free to put that in the chat. If you're watching this on replay, still feel free to put it in the chat. I get a notification anytime somebody puts a new comment in there, or the best way to get an answer is to directly ask me. So you can feel free all the time to go into Facebook Messenger and send me that question. I'm happy to answer those things because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve. I'm here to make the world a better place for who I am and what I do every single day. And so I'm going to be sharing with you some of my strategies and tips of what it is that I do for myself and what I do with my business coaching clients and my personal one-on-one coaching clients, for us to really kind of just take stock of what it is that's been happening in our lives. So thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate you guys. And so again, no problem asking me questions. So the first thing I really want to do is take a look at recapping this year. One of the things that I've started to do when I was in business, especially, is we would go back through and we would look at our budgets and we would look at our goals that we set for ourselves, and then also the goals that we set for our staff. And we would go through those files and go through those list of goals and say, hey, did we achieve that? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute, what scale did we achieve this particular goal? Do we absolutely 100% achieve it? Do we achieve it on a scale of 1, like a 7? What were some of the things that we did? And, more importantly, in looking at some of the goals that we have, we got to look at the things that worked and the things that didn't work. So that's super important. When you're reflecting back on this year, like for me, I was going to use some personal examples. Like for me this year, I set out a goal to have more Instagram subscribers and more YouTube subscribers. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I mean, it's not important. But what I do is I sit down and I look at that goal and I sit there and say, okay, by what percentage did I accomplish this? And is this something I want to keep on my radar for coming up next year? It's super important. Oh, hang on a sec. I got shiny object syndrome. Robert says here, grateful for you. You're grateful for you too, brother. Ray says, I'm a New Year's baby. One unstoppable comment for me. I think that is. All right, Ray, you're New Year's baby. We got Kimberly in the house. What's the best approach when you want to change careers? Ooh, Kimberly, that's a great question. Thank you for coming in. That's coming in from LinkedIn. So thank you for that. Let me actually just answer that question real quick. Actually, I got a beautiful friend of mine, Mary Kay, who is usually watching this. She may be popping in later. She's actually a career coach. She has great advice on this. But for me, when I think about this, honestly, back in November of 2019, I ended my corporate career. So from as long as I can remember, since I was about 18 years old, I've worked in some sort of corporate situation. And in November of 2019, I found myself being comfortably miserable. It's something that I talk to my coaching clients quite a bit about. I was in this successful corporate career. I'd been there for over 26 years. My zone of excellence, not my zone of genius. If you guys have read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which I highly, highly recommend. And I decided, I've been coaching and speaking for over 15, 20 years now, and was looking at like, when am I going to make that transition? When am I going to go from my full-time comfortable job, making six figures, to going after my coaching and my speaking and my books and my podcasts and everything else full-time? And I was kind of like straddling that fence all along, for like, especially the last 10 years, describing myself as being comfortably miserable. And I don't know, my computer just flashed, so I'm not sure if it flashed for you guys. We've been having internet issues here in Riverside County, so hopefully this broadcast will come through to you. But Kimberly, yes, when you want to change careers, I think that is brilliant, because you got to ask yourself, am I happy in this current career, yes or no? And if you're not, then it's about really establishing what are the steps to be able to make sure that I can make that effective transition, and what things are most important to me in that transition for what I want my legacy to be about. Everything we're going to be talking about in tonight's show is really about fulfilling that legacy, like recapping this current year. Did I fulfill the legacy that I set out for myself? What legacy do I really want for myself next year? And when you're changing careers, it depends on what kind of careers you're talking about. So if you can give me a little bit more information, that would be great. But when I think about it, number one is talking to my mentors and my coaches. It's brilliant to go and get outside perspectives and opinions based on what it is that you got going on, so that you can see all the different aspects of a particular situation that you're looking at. Because sometimes we have a pointed view, if you will. We want something to particularly happen, but we go out and ask people's advice. And oftentimes, if there are people that like us and they know what we want, they're going to tell us, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. But it's always great to have a third party to be able to sit there and ask you some pretty strong questions, to sit there and say, okay, how bad do you really want this? And as far as like changing careers, I think about the best approach is to go in it all in, like really, one of the aspects that I was just teaching somebody recently, they want to own a restaurant one day. And I said, I was being a smart ass. And I said, well, have you ever worked in a restaurant? Oh yeah, I did when I was 18 years old. And I'm like, okay, here's something I suggest. If you want to go own a restaurant, if you want to go out and, basically do a licensee or something like that, I said, go work for a restaurant for 6 months. Go work there and see how the operations are handled. Go see what the customer situations are. Go out there and see, what type of insurance and different things of that nature they need to have. Go immerse yourself in that experience and see if it's something that you really want to do. Because oftentimes we get the rainbow glasses and we think, oh, when I go do this, this is what it's going to be. This is what I see other people doing, or this is what I've seen on TV and movies. God's honest truth. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a California Highway Patrol officer. Guess why? If you guys are over 40, you probably know there was a show called Chips. I wanted to ride a motorcycle on freeways all day, picking up on hot girls and solving crimes and mysteries. So I wanted to be a California Highway Patrol person. When I got older, I actually met a California Highway Patrol person, and I spent about an hour with the person. Actually, I have a good friend of mine today that is a California Highway Patrol officer. And it was amazing when they started sharing me the reality of what it really is, not the glamorized look of what it was on television. My perspective about wanting to become a California Highway Patrol officer. My screen keeps flashing. I apologize for that. It's because I currently work in public health and I'm grateful for my job, but I desire to do something more creative. Yes. So when I think about that, obviously you got to think about, okay, what responsibilities do I have financially? Time wise, if when I was single and out there, switching a job for me wasn't that big of a deal, or switching a career wasn't that big of a deal. If your family's involved, obviously you got to get their input and their feedback on it. You want their support. And ultimately, when I think about, going from something that you're grateful for, but to do something more creative, the thing that I found, and I find the most that I work with my coaching clients is do exactly what I did. Like I was a coach and I was a speaker alongside my day job for many, many, many years, probably way too many years, until ultimately I had enough. And I just got to the breaking point. And me and the organization, truth be told, we came to amicable ways, and they sent me packing, and I said, thank you very much. And I never looked back. Now, is entrepreneurialism for everybody? No. I mean, it takes a brass set of what, and it takes a lot of tenacity. It takes creativity. It takes the ability to have relationships and connect with people. So doing something more creative, I would highly suggest, if you haven't done it already, is to try to have that as your side hustle. And I just read an article today that was talking about what are some emerging trends for 2023, and one of those is really making your side hustle a little bit more prevalent in your life, being what I call a switch hitter, or becoming a free agent. When you think about it, I've got a buddy who is a photographer, he's a teacher, he's a corporate guy, and he has an independent redistributor situation. So he's got all these different things that he's able to utilize his ADHD, like his inattention, to do all these different things, and he's very successful at it. So it keeps him intrigued and it keeps him going. So when you want to do something more creative, it's like, how can I do this? And then what's my expectation? So I would say, go do that for a couple of years. And as you do it, grow it, scale it, and find out what the opportunities are there, and give yourself a cutoff point. So oftentimes that, people come to me for coaching and they're like, Chris, I need to make as much money in my side hustle as I do my day job in order for me to quit it. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. There is not any way that you can fully support 2 full-time careers, literally launching a business, and expect you to be able to get to a spot where you can jump off at the same amount you're actually currently making. I was not in that situation. I jumped and I actually lost about 60% of my earning income right away, not to mention the benefits and everything else that I had. But I was willing to take that risk. And for the 3-year investment, most businesses need to see a financial result within 3 to 5 years. And so I gave myself that opportunity. I said, okay, I got 2020, I got 2021, and I got 2022. And guess where I'm at? Guess what I'm evaluating? I'm taking a look at what this transition has meant for me financially, what it's meant for me spiritually, what it's meant for me health-wise. I can tell you this, that by not sitting in traffic and not dealing with the corporate bullshit all the time, I probably saved myself, probably added 10 years back on my life. And that was one of the big things for me, was longevity. Having a 6-year-old son, being in my 50s, thinking about that. I don't want to die on the freeway from a heart attack because I'm yelling at some stupid idiot who doesn't know how to use their turn signal. I don't want to die at work because I'm overworking myself trying to build somebody else's dream. I want to live my dream. And for me, I decided that the financial aspect, it wasn't as important as the mental health aspect of it, and spending time with my family and being here with my family, because I am a go-getter and I tend to be a workaholic. So in that corporate position, I found myself doing so much for everybody else, but not doing it for myself. So for me, when I think about going to change those careers, it's about that excitement. Is that excitement going to get me through that drudgery of trying to start a new business and get new clients and everything else? So if you're doing a side hustle, you have that ability to do that, and you get an ability to experiment and kind of have some fun with it, as opposed to looking at it as your sole source of income. But I've made recommendations to people before, if they've been single and they have a high, mortgage or a high rent or whatever it is. I'm like, go rent a room from somebody, really lower all your expenses and go out there and really nail it and be able to experience what it's like to build that business from the ground up if you have that opportunity. Obviously, if you have a family, then I think the side hustle is the best bet. But I'm happy to get with you privately, just for you watching this and sharing the question with me. I'm happy to go offline with you and see if I can give you some additional advice, because trying to do it right here is a little bit challenging. But I hope that helps you. So yes, thank you. I think you guys are seeing that it was flashing, because I think Robert said it was okay with me. So I hope that has helped. Kimberly looks like she says yes here. We got some crap coming in from some girls 69 XYZ. I don't know why this keeps coming up. It started coming up last week and it's crazy. We got Woody in the house. He goes, "Hey man, you look like a cop." Ha ha ha. I look like a cop? You're kidding me. I look like a California highway patrolman. So I hope that helps. But yeah, again, any questions you guys want to ask me, obviously let me know. So again, going back. What's up, Nellie? Nellie's in the house. It's her birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nellie. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for being here. And Kimberly says here, just for the rest of you guys listening or watching, she goes, "Thanks. I appreciate your feedback." Absolutely. I say, go for your dreams. There's a great book out there, like I just mentioned it before, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And it talks about the fact that most often, we can operate in our zone of greatness, our zone of excellence, and our zone of genius. And for me, leadership, I have a master's degree in organizational management. Again, spent over 26 years in corporate business and executive leadership and things of that nature, international business travel and everything else. But my zone of genius is coaching, is doing this, is helping inspire people to think differently about their past, present, and their future, to share my story, whether it's on stages or in podcasts or through the book that I'm writing right now. That's my zone of genius. And so in that book, it talks about the fact that we have these upper limit problems. So we'll upper limit ourselves. We'll actually give ourselves excuses to say why we can't, be in our zone of genius all the time. So in that book, it really asks a lot of poignant questions to sit there and ask ourselves how we can identify those limiting perspectives up above, that are holding us back, that ceiling, and how we can navigate around those things to really be in our zone of genius all day long. And that's something that I've been massively pursuing over the last 3 years, especially because I made that leap, and I don't regret it whatsoever. I mean, to be in that free fall, there's a great video out there by Steve Harvey. It's called Jump. I'm sure my buddy Ray's going to put the link in there. It's by Steve Harvey. It's Jump. It's like 1 minute and 23 seconds. And in that video, my coach had me look at it back in 2019. And I was sitting there like, all these people are doing these things, and we often compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing. So ultimately, he talks about the fact that when you look and like, oh, your friends are doing this and these people are doing this and they're flying, they're going to the south of France and they're buying these new cars and they're taking vacations and everything else. He says, they jumped. And guess what? When you jump, your parachute's not going to open. Your back's going to get scratched up. You're going to feel scary. There's going to be the adrenaline rush. Your chute's not going to open. You're going to get banged up. You're going to be scared. But at the end of the day, your chute will open. But what he says, and I know I'm butchering this a little bit, but he says, if you never jump, your chute never opens. So when you think about that, there's a book out there also, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. The top regret of the dying, if you guys heard the show, this. The top regret of the dying is that we lived the life that we thought we were supposed to live, and we didn't live the life that we wanted to live. Meaning, we went in, dad wanted us to become a lawyer. We became a lawyer. Mom wanted us to become a banker. We became a banker. We wanted to become a ballerina or a rock star or something like that. And we put our goals and dreams aside to fulfill what everybody else wanted for us. And then you get to the end of your road, you get to the end of your life, and you're looking back on, man, I'm not happy that I forgave, that I put all of my dreams aside for somebody else. Because that person's most likely dead now. Most likely we were doing things to impress people who really didn't care about us anyway. And it was all about that ego validation. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I say go after your dreams, because I keep this little gizmo right in front of me, not my cat, but this, right? You think about this. You heard the term 3 feet from gold. You never know how close you are. Never give up on your dreams. So if something is a burning desire within you, then you need to go through that. And again, kind of getting back to the conversation tonight, is talking about recapping this current year. Ask yourself this question: what were my challenges this year? So write down your challenges. What did I learn from these challenges? And progressively, what is it that I'm going to do and focus on in 2023 to overcome those challenges? Maybe you haven't overcome them yet, but those are current challenges that you're facing, and that you want to focus on that to make sure that you rise above those challenges so you can put them in the past. And you can sit there and say, now what was a challenge is now a strength. So for me, I think one of my challenges is sales. Just God's honest truth. I love serving people. I love helping people. But for me to close a sale and do all that stuff is not in my wheelhouse. Not yet. So again, the words that we use are super powerful. So not yet. So in my goal planning for next year, I'm looking at reading some sales books and maybe taking a sales course, or maybe having a sales coach help me work on my closing strategies and things of that nature, because what we do as entrepreneurs is sales. It really is. And I've never been one to sell people. So I've learned the difference between selling and offering. So I've made progress, but that's another area that I want to continue to focus on so that I can have that generate that income for me and my family to be able to enjoy things. And ultimately, the philanthropic aspect of why I want to make more money is to be able to donate more money and to make more impact in the nonprofit sector with the board of directors I'm on with Help Heal Humanity. So, in recapping that year, another thing is what were the factors contributing to the wins? Like, okay, so I had this win and I closed this deal and I got this. So what were the contributing factors to that? What was happening in your life when those things were happening? Because oftentimes we sit there and think, well, man, I crushed it in the first quarter, but the rest of the year I didn't do so well. What were you doing in the first quarter? Think about that. Oh, and I've talked to people like, oh yeah, because it was January, I went on this health kick. And for the first 3 months, I didn't have any alcohol or sugar or gluten. Oh, okay. Wow. So I had that much success while I was doing that thing, but then the rest of the year wasn't so much success. Did I fall off the wagon? Did I go back deeper into my addiction or whatever it might be? Maybe. So really taking a look at, okay, our losses, what it is that I learned from it, what is it that I can move forward in the next year to be able to continue to learn about, and what were my wins and what factors contributed to that. also, because often we look at our wins, I did this, but we never really kind of go and do that deep dive to sit there and say, okay, here's the contributing factors to that. Here's the people I had on my team while that situation was going on. Maybe you had a project team and you're sitting there looking at like, man, I need to incorporate more of those people on my project team next year to make sure that I continue to have those successes. So oftentimes we sit there and we think, okay, I've got that part nailed. I don't need to focus on the wins, but you do. You need to focus on the wins and the challenges to be able to say, okay, what is it that I learned from it, and what can I let go, and what can I keep doing? Another thing that you can ask yourself a powerful question is just to say, and you guys may have heard me talking about this on the show before, what am I tolerating? Right? When you get to the end of the year and you get out your pad of paper, and just ask yourself, what am I tolerating from myself? What am I tolerating from others? What am I tolerating from inanimate objects? And you think about that, all the different areas that you may be tolerating things. At the end of the year, if you could sit there and say, if you're tolerating 20 things, what would life look like if you didn't tolerate 3 of those things? Or maybe the three things are the low hanging fruit. Maybe there's one thing. If you weren't tolerating that anymore from yourself or from other people, how much difference would that have in your personal life and your professional life? Maybe you tolerate from yourself that you get distracted easily. Right? Okay. So what can I do and focus on in 2023 that will help minimize my distractions so I can stay focused on my projects? I mean, that's something that I had to deal with many, many years ago. And so I decided I tried different timers. I got a traditional egg timer that I sat in front of me, and I said, okay, I'm going to set the timer. And until that thing beeps, I'm going to focus on this one thing. I'm going to focus on this one thing. And then I learned about I think it's the Pompadero method, which is basically 40 minutes on a project, and then 10 minutes taking a break, and then 10 minutes to get to the next project. So I've tried all these different modalities to help me stay focused, because that's one of my excuses. That's one of the things I was tolerating, was like, okay, I started 17 things, but I only finished 3. How can we increase that ratio to say I'm going to finish and complete more? Was it the fact that I had so many because I didn't take the proper time to plan and really look at what the priority was for what I'm doing? And I want to really just kind of emphasize that for a second. The word priorities, right? Like, what are my priorities? That came from the singular word priority. And so what usually happens, and you guys have all experienced this, you go to work and like, what's my priority, boss? Priority A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm like, no, I only have these 2 hands and this one brain. So I only need to know what the priority is. But what has happened over time is people have duplicated the amount of priorities that we have. And then how do we facilitate that as still one person? So we can get distracted, we can drop the ball on certain things. So for me, like, how can I increase my focus and my concentration? Can I look at different ADHD medicine? Can I sit there and read more books about this? I read a book by Dr. Gabor Mate called Scattered. It's a brilliant, brilliant book talking about ADHD. I thought ADHD was a neurological situation that caused my brain not to be able to focus. But what I found out is really it's caused by the lack of attention that we get in our formative years as babies and as young kids. So we have to find ways to distract ourselves because of that inattention, that what we didn't get. So once I found out it was more of an emotional situation, I was able to start looking at myself and my actions a little bit differently to find more opportunities for focus. One of the other things that I asked myself in that situation, like, okay, where do I get distracted most? Obviously, when we ask ourselves questions and we are honest with those situations, we can have different answers. So I get distracted a lot here in my studio. So what have I done over the years? I grab my laptop, I grab my cup of water, and I go out to the beach. I go out to a park. I go to a library. I go to Starbucks. I go somewhere else where my only focus can be on one screen. I'm pointing to my iPad right now. So when you think about that, what opportunities do you have for solutions to help fix and mitigate some of the challenges you've had this particular year? Hope this all makes sense to you guys. We got Lisa in the house. What's up, Lisa? She goes, yeah, prioritize. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you being here. We got Christopher Kaysen in the house. What's up, Chris? He says also why it is important to journal at all throughout the year. Let me see. I just wanted to see if you asked another question before that, because it looked like there was an and. Great question, Chris. Why is it important to journal all throughout the year? Because then you're able to go back and reflect upon some of your wins and your challenges. For me, I journal every single day. A lot of times I will just journal with, it's not up here, but I use a digital voice recorder. So I actually just pick up the digital voice recorder, record my thoughts and my notes in there. I label it as whatever day it is. And then I can go back and actually I plug it into my computer and I use Dragon Naturally Speaking to transcribe that voice recording, because I type a lot all throughout the day. So when you do that, you can actually go through, and when you have those journals transcribed, you can go and search. So you can search a set of documents and say, okay, look for the word challenge. And so it'll bring up in those documents what your challenges were. But the other thing I recommend to you guys is I have a little book. You get it from the 99-cent store, like these little composition books. And this one is called Notes and Reminders for Me. So this particular one are all wins. So whenever I have a particular win for that day, I write down the note and I put it in there and I write down my notes. So at the end of the year, this is another aspect is I just pick this book up, or what I actually really do this book for is when I'm having a down day and I sit there and I need to go back and be reminded of all the positive things that have happened. So I put accolades in here. I put the successes I've had with particular speaking gigs or coaching clients or whatever it might be, me personally, professionally. And I put this in there and I remind myself, wow, oh my God. Or I put little reminders in here. Will you be happy with this choice? Will I be happy with this choice now, tomorrow morning? So when we sit there and we think about the things that we're doing today, we might imbibe a little bit more with food or drink or whatever else, but ask yourself, am I going to be happy with this decision tomorrow that you're making right now? If you're not going to be happy with that decision tomorrow, don't make that decision a yes today. Stop yourself. So I have little things in there. So I think journaling is super powerful. Doing it by hand is especially powerful because there's something that happens. There's a connection that's made, an agreement, if you will, when we write things down manually. So if you write your goals down, write them down manually. There's a contract that's made because you're actually taking those thoughts and those actions and putting them outside of yourself onto paper. And so there's like this little bit of agreement that's made. So I'm a big fan of that as well. So I think, yes, journaling is super important. Because it's an opportunity for us to get real honest with ourselves, because so oftentimes we're afraid to be honest with other people because we're in fear of judgment. We're in fear of not being enough, all these different things. But I subscribe to the philosophy and the policy. Honesty is your best friend, especially with yourself. Like when you ask yourself, am I happy with this person? Yes or no? Am I happy with this job? Yes or no? Am I happy with the way I look right now? Yes or no? When you answer yourself honestly, that is a good thing. That's a great thing, because from that point forward, you can sit there and say, yeah, it sucks, but what am I going to do? What's plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G if I don't like the way I look about myself? What are the things that I want to change? What kind of work is that going to need for me to change? Do I need outside resources to help make that happen? Maybe I've been trying to lose weight and get into shape for the last 20 years, but I just haven't done it. What would life be like if I had made the investment to get a trainer for the next 6 months and actually break that ceiling, break that limiting belief that Gay Hendricks talks about, to be able to go on to that next level? How much different will I feel when I do X, Y, and Z? How much more would I get done if I lost 20 pounds and felt that I look better? How much more would I get done if I had more stamina and energy to play with my kids and to do my side hustle? Things of that nature. So yes, I believe that we all need to do that. So it definitely is important to journal. Thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate you guys. I'm sorry I'm like feeling like blah. I am. I'm like super hot right now. So I'm like, but I did not want to disappoint you guys. And I think Ray's got the gizmo up here. You know what actually I want to do? If you guys will allow me to do this, since this is live and we are just having a little bit of fun here. Let me do something for you guys. Yeah, let's do this. Please hold. Let's do this. I'm going to do this with you guys. Since it's not that long, and let's see. Let's do this. Please hold. I want you guys to see this. This is important. We're going to say share our audio. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Minute and 54 seconds. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. Thank you, Ray.
Okay, here's the deal. If you want to be successful, here's the thing you have to do. You have to jump. There is no way around it. You have to jump. Every successful person has jumped. You got to jump. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to dash off that cliff, and you got to jump out there as far as you can. Now, a lot of times you stand on the cliff of life and you see other people soaring by, gliding down like a bird flying through the air. You know, they're going over to the south of France. You see them on a boat somewhere. You see their family vacationing here, their family vacationing there. You see them dressing like this. You see them in New York, then you see them in London. They flying by. You know why? It's because they parachute open. But the only way to get your parachute to open so you can soar, you got to jump. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem, my friends. When you jump, I can assure you one thing. You listening? I promise you this. Your parachute will not open right away. No, that's the fear part. I promise you your parachute will not open right away. You're going to hit them sides and the rocks. You're going to tear your back out on the cliff. You're gonna cut yourself. You're going to get wounded. You're going to get some tears and stuff like that. But eventually, parachute will open and you'll be sold. But here's the other caveat. Let me teach you this right here. If you do not jump, I promise you one thing. Your parachute will never open. So you're safe, but you'll never soar. You got to jump.
You are safe, but you will never soar. Who wants that on a tombstone? He was safe, but he never soared. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Steve Harvey, Jump. Wanted to share that with you guys because we're doing this live and we can have a little bit of fun, have a little bit more creativity in all of this in here. So yeah, what'd you guys think of that? What did you think about that, ladies and gentlemen? Kimberly says here, that's big. What am I tolerating? Oh, that is massively huge. That's something I do with all my coaching clients and I do it with myself. And it's pretty crazy what it is that you can come up with. I've had many coaching clients come to me inevitably, and I'll ask them, I'll give them this exercise. I'll say, okay, over the course of the next 7 days before we meet again, I want you to write down those 3 things. What are you tolerating from yourself? What are you tolerating from others? What are you tolerating from inanimate objects? They'll come to me a week later and they'll have about 5 or 6 things in each one of the categories. And inevitably, most people will say, oh my God, I didn't realize there was this many. Usually by the time, this is like the, depending on where I'm at, how I'm coaching them and what I'm coaching them for, I will most likely know whether that's real or not. And then if I know it's not real, I'll sit there and say, you know what? I think you might be missing a few. So grab yourself a little notebook or something like that, or your phone, and really pay attention to those things that you're tolerating. And I swear to God on my life, they come back to me with a whole bunch more and with their head in their hands going, how did I let this happen? How did I let this happen? Because most often we don't realize what it is that we're tolerating. We don't realize how much stuff we really have on our back. It's much like looking at your Wi-Fi system and all of a sudden going on your Wi-Fi system and going, wow, I didn't realize there was 62 devices connected to my Wi-Fi. No wonder it sucks, because it's taken away your bandwidth, because you have so much stuff taken at you. How do you have any strength and resiliency to go after the things that are most important? That priority. So when I want you to think about that priority, what does that priority look like in terms of how will I be remembered if I died tomorrow? What is my priority? So for me, it's serving. It's about making this world a better place for who I am and what I do. If this is the last thing I ever do and my son comes and looks at it, he's like, was dad living his legacy? Absolutely, 100%. How do we get to that legacy? You guys have been following the show for any length of time. You know what I'm going to talk about. You got to write your eulogy. Once you write your eulogy and how you want to be remembered, you start working backwards with that. And if there's anything on that tolerations list that does not lend to that legacy, you have to say so long. You have to say so long. You can't continue taking on everything, doing everything for everybody else, and hope, wish, and pray that someday you are going to get to have your cake and eat it too. That's not the case. I had one coaching client who, when we did this exercise, she was really frustrated with herself and her life. And she's like, I don't feel like I can do anything. And I said, you can do something. She was talking about how many things she did for her family. Well, I got to make their lunches and I got to do their laundry and I got to do this and I got to do this. I'm like, what would it look like if your family pitched in and contributed on some of these things and allowed you an hour or so a day to be able to focus on what it is that you want to do, focus on your side hustle. Oh, you don't understand. My husband this, my kids want that, and they blah, 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 blah. It'll never work. They will. Really? So let me ask you a question, Miss Lady. The old adage, if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, would your husband and your kids no longer eat? Would they no longer have clean clothes? Would their house no longer get clean? What does that look like? You die tomorrow, what's going to happen? And inevitably they kind of look up. This is on a Zoom call. And they're like, I see what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, you have to get tough. You have to sit there and draw the line and say, listen, guys, I've been doing this shit for 17 years. I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. Guess what? We're going to have a class on how to do your laundry. Starts right here. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put a little cheat sheet up on the laundry room that says, here's how you do your laundry. Here's how you fold your laundry. Here's how you put your laundry away, ladies and gentlemen. And success story after success story of people who have owned their place in the house, owned their place in the world, started prioritizing themselves and their legacy first, were able to actually not put more work on other people, but actually empower other people to become stronger for themselves, especially their kids. I've heard stories, like horror stories, like I'm like, how old is your kid? What are they, like, 6 or 7? No, my kid's 18. I'm like, wait a minute, your fucking kid doesn't do his own laundry. He's 18 years old. Like, what kind of success are you setting them up for? Well, I know, I kind of realize that. So when you think about looking past on your year, review some of that stuff. Look at your tolerations, because if you're looking at some of your excuses is I don't have enough time, then where is it you're going to get the time from? Let me give you something scary right now, depending on where you guys are at in your healing journey or in your life journey. Think about this. Like, the average life expectancy right now, I think, is somewhere on average for men and women about 78 years old. So when you think about 78 years old, I'm 54. You can do that math, right? So what is that? Let me see if I can do this real quick. So 78 minus 54, I'll be 54 next year. 24 years, ladies and gentlemen. Average life expectancy, I have 24 years left. Here's how it sounds differently. I have 24 summers left. 24 summers. That doesn't sound like very much at all, does it? It sounds kind of scary. Sometimes, and me being the no excuses coach, we have to put fear into our lives. We have to put leverage into our lives. Otherwise, we're going to stay complacent and continue to doing that hope, wish, and pray shit that someday we're going to be happy and someday we're going to go after our dreams. With only 24 summers left, I don't have a lot of time. So that creates more leverage and more of a priority to sit there and examine the things in my life and what am I doing and really what is going to be the best to create that legacy that I said before. And essentially what it is, if you guys are new, Christopher Rausch will have fought for what was right and what was fair. He will have risked for which that mattered, and he will left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. And that's what I got when I wrote my eulogy. So when you're planning out your goals for next year, have that eulogy in mind, have that legacy in mind, and ask yourself, does this lend to fulfilling that legacy? Yes or no? There's no in between. It's either yes or no. You want definitive answers. You want to be decisive. You don't in between shit anymore, because that's what you've been dealing with all your life. And that's why you are where you're at. And that's not that a bad place, but so oftentimes we're trying to do so much that we never get anything done. Look, my friend Linda's in the house. What's up, Linda? She says, not about time. It's about managing activities. What's up, Linda? Thank you for being here, sweetheart. It's been a minute. I appreciate you being here. Yes, absolutely. It's about managing our activities and, the priority. What is your priority? I can tell you this, my priority for next year is my health, my mental health, my physical health, and everything else. And I take pretty good care of myself. Actually, all things being honest, Linda was my life coach, my health and nutrition coach back in the day, and she taught me quite a bit. And so I've always been good like 80% of the time and kind of a little rough on the 20% of the time with drinking and fried foods and stuff like that. But as I continue to get older and I look at this legacy and I look at this priority, the priority for me is to be here for my son and be as a dad and a granddad for his kids. Like all the fame and all the wealth and everything else is not nearly as important as the fact to be here for that. So what's my priority? My mental health and my physical health next year, like taking it up a notch. Every year I take it up a notch a little bit more because I realize the fact that we can't go back and I'm not getting any younger. So the priority for me next year is really my mental and physical health to make sure that happens. So thank you, Linda, for inspiring me on that. And then looking at those goals and do they support this? Do they support this? So when we think about, the recapping of the year, that's one thing, but the other part of it is to really look at the fact of, as far as people goes, what people in our relationships in our lives do we need to take a look at as well? Sorry, I'm looking for something that I had my notes on. This is one of those shows that I can't go by head. So I made some notes for you guys. One of the things we can look at is what relationships are no longer serving me. So oftentimes we hang on to people in relationships because, we've been friends for this long and everything else. Does this relationship provide me value? Yes or no? Is this relationship feel like a burden to me? Yes or no? Start asking yourself some important questions, and not that you have to kick people to the curb and say goodbye to them forever, but they no longer hold that priority place in your life. Because let me tell you something, Stephen Covey said in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said, you're like the 5 people you're around the most. So take out that pen and paper again and write down the 5 people you're around the most. And are they supportive? Yes or no? Do they encourage you to go after your dreams? Do they encourage you to take risks? Or do they tell you to play it safe? Do they tell you to hope, wish, and pray? Those people are good people. Don't get me wrong, but you need people like me in your life, the no excuses coach, and sit there and say, okay, I'll ask you the tough questions, make you answer them honestly, because that is the growth that's going to drive you to get to that next level. Otherwise, you're going to stay complacent. You're going to stay mediocre. And again, when you think about questions, ask yourself this: when did it become acceptable to be mediocre? When did it become acceptable to tolerate so much bullshit in my life that I don't deserve? When did it become okay? When did it become, and answer yourself honestly. And if it's not okay, then guess what? You have to make those changes. So yes. And when we think about another aspect of this from a business standpoint, I want to include this for my entrepreneur friends, my business friends out there. Take a look at your contracts. Take a look at all the contracts, the business contracts you have, because things change. The economy is changing right now. So there's an opportunity for you to renegotiate many of your contracts and probably get a better discount. But so often we sit there and say, I've got a 3-year agreement. I can't break that agreement, or I have to wait until that agreement comes up. For me personally, I've known personally and professionally, you can go back and renegotiate those contracts and save yourself some money. So take a look from a business standpoint, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what are my highest expenses? And is there an opportunity for me to shop that out? Is there an opportunity for me to renegotiate that contract? Have the aspects of my business changed so that I can negotiate maybe a better rate for my customers in a particular area? For me, I was very involved in logistics and transportation, international logistics. And so what we found is once we started having customers in more of a particular area, like say for Mexico, I would go back to DHL and FedEx and say, okay, listen, our business has increased 37% down to Mexico. You're offering us a 20% discount based on the volumes 2 years ago. Now we have these volumes. What can you do for us today? And then be able to renegotiate those rates in such a way that we can go back to our customers and say, guess what we just did for you? We renegotiated the rate, so your shipping costs are going to be a little bit less expensive, and still us on the business side of things are still going to take a little bit of a profit for it. So there's a win-win situation out of that. Another thing that I highly recommend for business owners and entrepreneurs to do is to take a look at your policies and procedures. What policies and procedures do we have in place, especially with our customers, that we can modify to make it easier to do business with? That should be really something that's centered and focused in your business plan, especially is to sit there and say, how can we make it easier for our customers to do business with us? How can we provide more opportunities and services so that our customers will love us even more? And one of those things that you could do is go out to your customers every single year and do a survey. How are we doing? What areas would you like to see improved? What additional services and products would you like to see? Get your customers involved and listen to them. Offer them an opportunity to call you and sit on the phone and do a Zoom call. Offer, a $50 credit to your services and to your products to get that one-on-one feedback back from your customers, because that direct honesty and that direct truth will enable you to look at the plans and the strategies you have for the coming year and potentially avoid something that might be a pitfall with your customers if it continues to go the way it's been going. Because oftentimes customers won't tell you what's good, they'll tell you what's bad. And oftentimes they'll tell you when it's bad after they're done doing business with you. So you want to avoid that as much as possible to make sure that you are capturing that stuff. Let me see. Christopher says, why wait until next year when you can start now? Absolutely. That's why I'm doing this. I start my business planning, my personal planning, usually in October. And Linda says here, your peeps should want to see you win and also make you a better version of you, just like you. Absolutely. Linda and I have been accountability partners off and on for over the years. And it's important to be able to do that. It's important to have somebody that you can count on to be honest with you and just sit there and say, hey, am I screwing up? Yeah, you're screwing up. How can we get you back on focus? That's super important. So looking now at next year's plans, one of the things that I absolutely recommend is something I just talked about a little bit before, is knowing that legacy, knowing what your eulogy is and being able to review that. Is that still who I'm about? Is that still what I want to accomplish? And if not, what revisions do I need to make necessary to this so that that acts as that huge leverage point for me to go and make those tough decisions or do that tough work that we don't necessarily feel like doing, but on the other side of things that we're glad we did. When you look back on your life and you think about all the different challenges you've had and you think about all the wins that you've had, when did you grow and learn the most? When things were easy or when things were challenging? When things were easy or when things were challenging? When things were challenging, of course. But looking back on it, you don't want to go back and repeat that. But are you grateful for those challenges because you learned those things that you've applied in your life since? Absolutely. That's how you get through those tough moments. You just sit there and say, okay, listen, I'm not going to appreciate this or really like this right now, but on the other side of this challenge, I'm going to find gratitude and I'm going to find significance in the fact that this moved my business forward. This moved me forward. It's just like anything else. Like if you're training to go up the Swiss Alps, you're not going to like the training. You're not going to necessarily like going up it, but the view from the top to say that you're one of the few people that trained and was able to do that, that's what life's about, ladies and gentlemen. When you put that extra effort in and you do things that you don't feel like doing or you don't want to do, but yet you're still successful at it, and you look back at that, that's where strength comes from. That's where that ability to sit there and say, you know what, I handled all these uncertain situations and I came through them and I learned things from them. So why wouldn't I continue to learn and grow from the things that are going to come into my life now? It's a different way of putting a shift on that challenge, because if we try to find things that are always easy, guess what? We're not going to find the things that we really truly want, because that adversity, that challenge is what we're here for. That's why we're here to grow. So when I think about that, the other aspect of reviewing next year's goals is to get your teams involved, get your business partner involved, get your family involved, get your kids involved, get everybody involved, because when people are bought onto the plan that you are subscribing to roll out for the following year, again, whether it's your business team or your family team, when they have that buy-in, when they have that ability to voice their concerns or voice the things that they want to see added to it, then their ability to support you when it comes time is that much greater as well. So if you sit there and say, okay, I'm thinking about training for a marathon next year, what do you guys think? Well, what's involved, Dad? Well, it's going to involve this, and this. I'm going to need your support in these areas. Can you guys do that for me? Oh yeah, absolutely. So when it comes time and you start training for that thing, remember that discussion we had last year? Well, here's where the rubber meets the road. And here's the things that you said you were going to take responsibility for so I could train for this. Okay, what else can we do? So you've already got that initial buy-in to get those things bought and sold as far as the plans and the strategies goes for what it is that you want to work on. Another thing that I always recommend too, and you should have this, whether you're a business or a professional, or whether you're just an individual or you're a business owner, is to take a look at your 3, 5, and 10-year plans. Now, even if you're just Joe Schmo, just living your life and doing your thing, you still have a 3, 5, 10-year plan. What is the plan for when I retire? This is something I have to get with my wife, honestly, and do for next year, because we're getting to that age. I'm going to be 54. She's going to be 44. What's the plan for retirement? Well, how much money do we need when we retire? What are the things that we're going to do? Got to start talking about that now, not when you're 64 going, hey, I'm going to retire next year. Let's see how our bills are. Let's see what's going on. We're going to start proactively planning for up to that. So you should always have a 3, 5, 10-year plan. In addition to that, you should have a 3, 6, and a 9-month plan as well. What's the short-term goal? What's the long-term goal? And what are the milestones that we need to achieve by when in order to know whether those are successful or not? There's got to be some accountability in the game. And that's why people go out there and get coaches and accountability partners, because without that, you could just sit there and go, well, I'm just going to move that over there. Since I didn't get that done, I'm just going to move that over there. And now my goals are recentered. No, you want somebody in your ass and they're saying, why didn't you achieve that? Was the goal too big? Was it not the right goal? Did you not put the right time period on it? What things do you need to modify about that and your thinking to make sure that the other goals are successful as well? You got to have a full framed approach. And when you're thinking about goal setting, I'm going to get to your comments here in a second, guys. I'm having a problem breathing. When you think about goal setting, one of the most important aspects really of goal setting is not identifying the goal itself, not really identifying the measurable, but identifying what potentially could be the roadblocks in achieving that particular goal. We get this fantasy thing about, oh, the goal is going to be this and it's going to be so great and and all I have to do are these 3 things. But then you have to sit there and think about, okay, what's the obstacle? What's the challenge? We all went through that recently. Nobody could have predicted a pandemic, but in some respects, history repeats itself. So could there be another pandemic? Yes. Okay. When there is another pandemic, what do I need to do in my business to be able to shift and pivot so that I don't have any repercussions like I did this last time? A pandemic may not be the next thing in the cards. It may be a natural disaster. If you're here in Southern California, we're 300 years overdue for a major earthquake. So what things in my business plan and my personal plan do I need to account for next year so that I'm prepared? Personally, I need to make sure I have enough water on hand. I need to make sure I have a backup generator, food on hand, whether they're MREs, the military things or whatever. Have those plans in place, because here's the thing that I've learned. When you have a plan in place and you have the things to help in case that plan needs to be enacted, oftentimes you don't need it. And I'll give you a lame example. Like when we used to go to the desert, racing sand rails and stuff like that, if somebody had an alternator and somebody had a starter and somebody had a carburetor, sure enough, none of those things would break. But if we were missing something else, those things would break. So as a matter of planning, if we had those things on us, then we necessarily didn't always need them. So it's about being that proactive person without being, totally consumed by it, but looking at what that is. And one of the things that I really recommend in anything that we do is a good old fashioned SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. List those out and get other people, get third-party people in there to look at those things, to ask those clarifying questions. Because if you're just operating in a vacuum, you're not getting that opportunity to have that iron sharpens iron situation in that goal setting and what it is that you're eventually going to produce. Having accountability partners is super huge, because that way you have somebody who's in your corner, who gets you and has got you, that you can be totally honest and vulnerable with. Because as a business owner and as somebody just in our normal everyday lives, we can do it by ourselves. Sure, I've proven that we can do it by ourselves, and I was that guy that always did it by himself. But when you have people on your team, and you get a team of 2 to 3 or 4 people who are really in your corner, and they have different expertise or strengths that you need to feed off of, then you have that whole unit that's going to help you become successful. But so many times we want to do it in a vacuum. We don't want to bother other people, or we simply don't want to make that investment in ourselves. But at the end of the day, can you afford to have 3 or 4 more years where you don't produce the results that you want? Can you afford to have another 3 more years that has that hit your confidence level and everything else, your quality of life? Because as your quality of life starts to decline, as you stop taking care of yourself as much, then that vicious cycle of insanity starts to come into play. We go to our short-term gratifications or our addictions, and we forget about life. And then we come up for air 3 years later. We're like, oh shit, I've been ghosting. I've been coasting. I haven't been doing the things that I really want to do in my life. Again, to go back to that legacy. If I die tomorrow, will I be happy with the actions and the choices and the things that I did today? Yes or no? I know for me, again, I wake up in the morning, I set the intentions for what I'm going to do and who I'm going to be, and I set my goals for the day, and I go about doing those things. And as I am, if I'm having a bad day, I ask myself, was this one of my intentions that I set this morning? If the answer is no, which most likely it isn't, because I'm farting off or being negative, then I ask myself, okay, what are one of the intentions that I set for myself this morning that I can do right now, by which doing so will redirect my perspective to be more positive? So if I set the intention in the morning to use my words and my actions to make the world a better place, and I haven't done anything like that yet, I'll do a post, I'll do a walk and talk video, I'll do something to use that so I can sit there and say, hey, I checked something off. I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. What was another intention I set today, and what are the first steps I need to do in order to achieve that? And then hold myself accountable and continue to do that. It's not about getting 16 things done in one day. It's about getting one thing done that really floats your heart and lets you know that you're living on your purpose and your legacy, because time is super, it's one of the greatest commodities that we take for granted. And that, again, for me, coming as a person who is now going to be almost 54 years old, the things that come into your viewpoint and that come into your realizations about who you are and what this life is about start to change dramatically. For me, it was about being famous and doing all this stuff and impacting the world. But honestly, now it's about being a great husband and a great father to my son and to my wife, using my words and my actions every day to make the world a better place, and to be happy with that, and to continue using, these opportunities to grow myself and to become stronger in the areas that I might be a little bit deficient in, but also at the same time, delegating that stuff that I might not be so good at in order to focus on the things that I really excel at. So those are some ideas and suggestions for you. I could go on all about this stuff, but I kind of just give you an overview of some of the things that I use as far as recapping my current year and what I use to focus on the upcoming year. So I hope that this has provided you value in between my ability to not cough and sneeze in front of you guys. So thank you guys all for being here. Let's see what we got here. We got some other comments. Let's see. Ray says here, remind us, what's Christopher Rausch's legacy? I think I just said that. My legacy will be to fight for what's right and what's fair, to risk for which that mattered, and to leave the earth a better place for who I was and what I did. Now, what's yours, Ray? Yeah, we got Angel in the house. What's up, Angel? She says, thought about that way back. People always need them, but I can't find them anywhere. I don't think about it anymore, but it's a great rev generator. I'm not sure what that points to a rev generator. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Linda says here, thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Yeah. So let me know in the comments what maybe some of the business practices or personal practices that you guys do as part of your year-end recapping and your new year planning. Let me know, because I'm always eager to learn as well. If there's anything I can do to support you guys, of course, you go, I got you. You can go to noexcusescoach.com. You can find an opportunity to book a complimentary coaching session with me just because you're watching this anymore, because I found that people would take me up on that and come to the table with a whole bunch of different sort of problems. So that's my little gift for you guys here for watching this today. Complimentary coaching session, courtesy of me. And here's another thing. If you don't know what to get your perfect friend or your perfect spouse, get them a coaching session with me. I'll work you out a deal. We can talk offline, but imagine that they open up their Christmas present on Christmas Day and they find out they have a coaching session with the No Excuses coach, and that's able to put their life ahead so much faster. Maybe they've never had a coach. There's an awesome gift for the person who has it all. My beautiful friend Linda says, a reminder to do it anyways, no matter if there is fear. Feel the fear and do it anyways. A book you sent me. Yep, I got it right up there. Feel the fear and do it anyways. Thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate you guys. I didn't even know I was going to be able to go a whole hour, but there we have. I'm going to go downstairs and have some chicken noodle soup. And yes, and I'm going to tuck my son into bed and then go get into bed myself and try to sweat some of this stuff out. But thank you guys. I appreciate it. I love you guys. NoExcusesCoach.com. We're going to be back here next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, who do we have with us next Tuesday? Let's see. Who do we have on the show next Tuesday? And by the way, if you guys know of people who would be a great guest on my show, let me know. God's honest truth. I've been blessed with so many people recommending guests to me. I think we're booking into April already for this show. We still have the Unfiltered experience, so we're booking into February for that. But for this show, it's going gangbusters. We got some amazing people coming up on the show. Good Lord. I just got introduced to somebody today. She used to be a runway model in the UK, and now she's becoming a professional boxer. We've got some other tremendous people that are going to be on here on the show pretty soon. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. And next week, who do we have coming up next week? We have Lisa Reed. Okay. So if you want to become a professional speaker, speak from stages or speak virtually, offer training courses and things of that nature, Lisa's going to be our guest on next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So bring your notes, bring your questions, come to the conversation. I appreciate you guys. Go out there, be brilliant. I love you. I appreciate you. Linda says here, lots of love and hugs to you. Angel says here, take care of yourself. Christopher Rausch, feel better. Get some hot tea. Great show. Thank you, darling. I appreciate you. I'm coming to Chicago. I keep telling you that. Got Robert in the house and love you back. Hi, Angel. Ray says, Ray, second ghost, come bake. I think it's come back. And Angel's sitting here saying, howdy, Robert. I love you guys. Go out there, be brilliant. We'll see you next time here on the Raw and Unscripted show with Christopher Rausch.